the bad guys are always going to be that next step ahead, right?
Yeah, right.
We're always going to try and play catch up. It's tough because no matter what pieces you put in place, there's always going to be that next emerging threat.
We've been doing this for 20 years and serving hundreds of families.
We're going to bring solutions to your situation.
How do you choose a financial advisor? How do you know who you should
That's
work
the
with?
value of that 210 core, moving everything towards a purpose on purpose.
Welcome to Your Retirement Blueprint Podcast, the show that empowers you to create a life of financial confidence so you can live your best life today. My name's Kendall Stahl, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Phil Cooper. How are you?
Good, Kendall. How are you?
I am good, and we have a guest today, and our guest name is Mr. Mike Kaluza. Right? That's how I say it, correct?
You got it.
Welcome, Mike. Welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
He's a seasoned IT professional and the driving force behind Synergetic Technologies. With years of experience in the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity, Mike has dedicated his career to ensuring businesses stay protected in the digital realm. Join us on the podcast as we tap into Mike's wealth of experience. We're excited to have you.
It's an honor to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Mike is our help button.
He is.
Whenever things don't work
We
electronically, we just push the button.
Speed dial.
Help. Mike, help. Help.
Can you be honest? Like, are we pretty needy? Like, do we call and ask the dumb questions?
There are no dumb questions. There's no dumb questions.
That was a nice way to say
No,
it.
no.
Yep.
No.
There was a lot of hesitation there.
No, you guys are great. No, the fun part about my job is every day I can come in and I can plan my calendar. I can say, hey, I'm going to get XYZ done. I'm going to talk to these people. I have these meetings, and the next fire of the day pops up, somebody has a need, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So no, you guys.
Well, we appreciate you
guys are
so
awesome.
much.
We do.
I don't know how long you've been working with us, but it's been quite a while, and I will tell you
it's
that
been what, almost 10 years.
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
A long time. There's so many technological changes in that 10-year time frame. I can't even imagine.
It's crazy to see, even in the 15, 17 years of IT since I started out. It's crazy to see the differences. I mean, every day, something changes and new things evolve. So
you've been in the industry 15 years?
Around 15 years. Yeah. I started out in a local financial institution, working in IT, went into IT audit, found that, really the small, medium business was really where I enjoyed, kind of like that niche side of IT, helping other people grow, and kind of worked through another IT company, and then decided, hey, some of the relationships that I had built over the years, you guys included, I just, my heart and my passion was, local small business, right? There's a lot of people that have needs of a large organization, but they don't have the resources to have a full-time IT staff. They can't justify, having a $100,000 a year person that's trained and certified and has a wealth of knowledge. But that's where we come in, right? We have a group of people that can, sit on the sidelines and be ready to assist you guys in a reactive need. Sometimes it's, hey, I can't print.
Yeah.
Or I've got a blue screen, or there's an error or an email that looks suspicious. And then there's also times when I get a call from a customer to say, hey, I just closed on a new building. We have to build, a floor plan. We have to lay out wireless access points. What do we do? Right. So there's just such a broad spectrum of those things. And that's what's exciting to me. Every day's different. So
can you, so I think our business pretty well. We work with retirees. So what I'd like to do a little bit today is talk to them a little more as individuals. And this whole thing with cybersecurity and all of that, like it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. What are like some of the I don't know, level one, or like the first risks that people should face or will face, I guess. And then what are some of like the simple things that we can start to do about it, or you would coach someone through with that?
It's funny. I get a lot of the type of question, even in business, right? What are the fundamentals? Where's the ground level? Where do you start? And there's a lot of different layers. There's a hardware piece to it. There's software pieces to it. There's physical aspects, building locations. Where do you put your monitor so that your customer or another person from your family can see or not see? I like to say that there's a fundamental, and start with a plan. You guys talk about a retirement,
sure.
plan.
It wasn't even set up.
Well done, Michael. Well done.
Hey,
It's like we practice.
I know, right?
That was not even scripted, folks.
And I know you guys could business a little.
well
you
done.
guys start with a plan, right? You have to say, hey, you can't protect yourself, long term.
Yeah, so true.
By throwing one thing at the wall and seeing if it'll stick. There's layers. So, as a user in any world, whether it's business, whether it's personal, have somebody that can help you. Have a team behind you, whether it's knowledgeable family member, somebody like us, or even a geek squad or somebody like that, have somebody that can help you. Start from the ground up in your machine, keep it up to date. Those are a lot of the big things that we see. I think I was just talking to you guys before the show. We had a software update on one of our machines this morning that we came in, and say, hey, you cannot use this software until you update. And a lot of people will say, no, do it later. No, right. I don't have time. I'll do it later. Do you ever come around and actually do it?
Right.
Yeah. Most people don't. So 100%, keep things updated.
I just call you when I have a problem.
What?
And you're like, why didn't you update that?
First rule of IT is, have you turned it off and on again?
Yeah, exactly.
So, right.
Reboot.
No. And so, have a plan, get somebody behind you, keep things up to date. And then there's some simple tools you can throw out there, antivirus. There are hundreds of different types of antivirus. There's Norton, there's McAfee, there's Bitdefender, there's WebRoot. A lot of those are really hard to find that are actually a good, valid antivirus software. If you don't know, ask somebody like me.
Can you, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but can you explain what an antivirus is?
Yeah. So antivirus it can be a couple pieces.
Okay.
Antivirus is really just your front door to your machine, right? I mean, it's going to be a piece of software that runs in the background. And I try not to use the word monitors because people they get
weird about
right?
that. Yeah.
Hey,
Alexa's listening.
I don't want people to know what's going on my machine. But essentially, it's just watching traffic, right? It's making sure that website that you just visited is a legit website. If it's not, and you click something wrong, that's going to be your first warning. That's going to be your first line of defense. It's going to say, hey, that doesn't look right. It's going to pop up and say, are you sure you want to launch that website? Are you sure you want to download that file? So antivirus is essentially
kind of your front door.
It's your front door. Yeah. And I know you guys and I have talked about like a firewall. Firewall in your business is your front door. That's what lets all traffic in and out. So antivirus is your ground level, and put it on everything you have. I get calls from customers that say, hey, to keep the cost down, can we just put antivirus on like the half of machines that we actually use?
Yeah.
What good does that do if you still have a machine out there that's vulnerable?
Right. Yeah.
So antivirus is great.
So it's kind of like keep your machine updated, antivirus. What else?
Mike, let me ask this question. Let's take this down to Bob and Mary, the average American person that lives on 100 Main Street down here. And they are going along through life. They use their computer for checking email, Googling this, Googling that, maybe a little social media. And then one day, something comes in through an email. They click on it. They don't even know they've clicked on it. Next thing you know, it's trouble, right? Their identity's been stolen. They're jumping through the hoops of trying to figure out how to reclaim all that maybe has been taken from them. How do you help them eliminate that moment?
I'll tell you the first thing, Phil, I tell my customers all the time, number one, don't be bashful to ask a question. If it looks suspicious, it might be or probably is. On our social media, I don't know, 6 months ago, I shared an email that I received, and we have spam filters and different things in place, but we had a Microsoft email come through that said, hey, your password's expired. You should log in and change that. Well, the very first thing that I saw is if you look at that email, the reply to email address was some gibberish at gmail.com some other country. And I tell my customers all the time, if it looks suspicious, if you don't recognize it, if you're at that point, you're Bob and you're Mary and you're logging on to do your internet banking, something pops up and it doesn't look right, stop. Read it through. What does it look like? Does it make sense? You should never have to call an 800 number to have help. You should never give out financial information. You should never give out bank information. You know, those are the ground level things that absolutely no one that is a credible organization is going to ask for. But to your point, the very ground foundational piece is going to be just stop and does it look right?
Just use some common sense, right? Yeah. Does it feel wrong?
That reply email thing's a big one, right?
It's huge.
Yeah.
That's anybody can say, I can open up a Gmail account and I can say, hey, I'm Kendall Stahl. I can put in whatever name I want. But if you look at the return address, that actual address that's created, it's probably going to be Kendall.fakeaddress.Stahl at 210financial.co.us.gov. Whatever. Yeah.
And even just things like changing the last letter or putting an A to an E or an O
capital
and
zero for an O. And trust me, it's gotten very difficult. Hackers and people that want your information have become incredibly complex and diverse, and they're preying on people to
very skilled, aren't they?
Yeah, and human nature is to trust, right? I mean, so you're like, he's not looking out from the worst of me. It's okay. Maybe my grandson does need me to wire some money, and he's in a foreign country somewhere, right? I mean, you guys have probably heard that one, right?
Yeah.
So
that'd be my soft one right there.
Yeah.
Okay. The boys emailed me.
Need money right now.
Send them a check. Let's go.
Even if it's a 1% or even 0.1% capture rate in sending out 10,000 emails,
it's very profitable when they're in. Yeah.
Just a few people.
Kendall, maybe you have a few more questions, but I'd like to go down another road here.
Going.
It's probably generational. I'm just a little bit older than you guys are, but I'm thinking that I come from the generation where a computer class in high school was not offered. Did you hear me? When I was in high school, a computer class was not even offered, right? So
You're that old?
I'm that old, yeah. So this thing right here, pretty versed in it now, but there was a long time when the generation behind me was just clicking and scrolling, man, and I didn't know what even was going on in the world. My question to you is this. My mom and dad, my grandparents now have these crazy things, right? How vulnerable are they to hackers and things on something as simple as a telephone? Is that a vulnerable piece of equipment for them?
You certainly can be. And it wholly depends on, and it goes back to how often do you update it? If I wake up in the morning, I grab my phone off of the charger and it's a little number at the top of your app that says, hey, got an update. It happens all the time. We push out and even the phone manufacturers, Microsoft, Apple, they're weekly, sometimes daily patching, because of security. But it's crazy to think of, in our pocket, you have the size of a supercomputer that's more powerful than what landed Apollo 13.
Exactly
on the moon.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
And that barely fit into a huge building or even a rocket. So, the power that's in here, and again, it goes back to the very first thing is the most vulnerable part of the technology. And it sounds bad, but it's the user at the end of the day. You said it perfectly. You're clicking and scrolling. You're not really thinking about what you're doing. Are you on a public Wi-Fi or are you on, a private Wi-Fi? Do you have a VPN set up? Some people probably are saying, Mike, what's a VPN?
What's a VPN?
Yeah. So, a VPN is called a virtual private network. Basically, that is a secure network from your device to a known protected server that secures your information from point A to point B. It's in an encrypted connection.
Yeah.
Nobody can sniff it. Nobody can see it. Nobody can browse it. But again, it's a level of risk, but also allowing access, right? You don't want to make it so hard to get access to the data you're looking for that then it becomes frustrating.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you guys have days where you're like, I can't get my password to work, or I can't get in here and
that's almost daily.
Well, and then you give up and you become frustrated. And then what do you do the next time? turn that off, turn that off,
absolutely.
get rid of this, turn this off, turn this off. What did you just do?
Yeah. You made yourself very
opened
vulnerable.
it wide open.
So Bob and Mary down the street, I'm gonna say this, and you're gonna realize how not technical I am, but they're not gonna have a VPN at their home,
They're not.
right?
They're not.
And so how big of a difference is it between public and Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi at their house? Is there a huge difference there?
So Wi-Fi at your house is essentially it's more secure. Theoretically you have an internet provider with a pipe coming into your house.
Right.
You've got some sort of device sitting at your house, a wireless router.
Yep.
It's going to perform traffic. It may have a firewall built in. It may not be turned on. But you're going to have your own device.
Right.
In theory, you have given access to or restricted access from that device to whom you want to control.
You want to, yeah.
So, it's not like sitting at a coffee shop where the guy sitting next to you could also be on the same Wi-Fi and be running, some sort of software, seeing every bit of traffic, that's coming through their public Wi-Fi.
Wow, really?
So you're at your house, relatively secure. Again, depending on what you're looking at, what are you doing on your machine? Are you, actually going to legitimate websites? We were talking about some of the foundational pieces or keys to, protecting yourself. I always run an ad blocker, in my web browser. So, I use Google Chrome.
Yep.
They're available for Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, Brave browser. They all have ad blockers. And that's probably one of the main things that I see a customer call about is they're going to say, hey, I went to Amazon and it's showing me this. No, you didn't go to Amazon. You Googled Amazon and the first 13 responses were, there's a tiny little box next to it that says ad.
Yeah.
And then it took you to a site that looks like Amazon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what happens is then you go to Amazon, you find what you want. Okay, I want to buy a new pair of shoes. Put them in your cart. Okay, you have to log in. Well, you put in your username, you put in your password. Guess what? Now you just given somebody complete access to your Amazon account, which also has your credit card stored in it, which also has your address stored in it. So it's a slippery slope. It's very difficult, to keep
can get ugly in a hurry, right?
Yeah, you can get downhill in a hurry, big time. But no, the average user at home, again, just pay attention to kind of where you're at, what you're doing. When you're at your house, you're much more protected than I would say if you're traveling, you're at a hotel, you're jumping on Wi-Fi that who knows what the guy next to you in the room next to you, I keep beating on the guy next to you, but I mean, who knows what the person next to you is doing? You don't know.
Let me take it to a different level, if I might, just for a second. So maybe just a little bit outside of your area of expertise, but to me, and this is where you have to correct me, to me, IT is IT is IT. It's all the same. So what about credit cards? So quick story. This past summer, my family and I were traveling, and we went to a professional baseball game. And at the game, my phone starts to absolutely go berserk and explode. And I'm looking at the notifications, and it was my credit card company shooting me different fraud alert. Pretty soon it was another credit card, fraud alert. I'm thinking, what's going on? Well, come to find out, my vehicle had been broken into back here as I'm in the game.
Of course.
And in that vehicle was some credit cards that they got their hands on. Next thing you know,
they had a shopping spree.
Yes, Kroger's for $500.
Thanks, Uncle Phil, for all the new toys that we just ordered. Absolutely.
So thankfully, the end result is I would say, nope, that's not me. No, that's not me. And within about 30 days or 60 days, I was receiving closeout letters from those cards saying, we have found that you're not liable for any of this. But boy, the headache and the fear, instant fear that came out of that was I'm sitting there watching a ball game with my family, and I have no credit cards to my name because somebody over here is going to Kroger's and Best Buy on my behalf. What about that?
You hit it on the head. Two-factor authentication. That's a buzzword that's really hitting, I'm sure, even in your industry too.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's very popular right now. What they just did was they needed a second way to verify, right? We use it all the time. It's a second way to be sure for the credit card company to know, hey, did you authorize that charge? And again, in the middle of a game, you're spending time with your family, you're traveling. Was that a pain in the butt? Yeah. Did it drive you nuts? Absolutely. Was it a headache and a half to recreate those cards? 100% it was. But at the end of the day, me personally, I would want to know, right? I have those set up on my cards. In fact, I have it set up for all types of different alerts. You can even, a lot of times you can monitor your credit score through those cards. That's a great way to get set up to know, hey, I just lost 30 points on my credit because somebody ran a loan under my name and they hit me with a whole bunch of inquiries. I'm sure that would wholly play into your guys, world as well.
Every day. Yeah.
But no, 100%, security wise, 2-factor authentication, even in a credit card, it's worth the 30-second inconvenience for somebody to shoot you a message and say, hey, this is a $900 charge to Amazon. Did you authorize this?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Then you're done.
Perfect.
Yeah. Come back to this. Brings me full circle back to your original opening statement. Have a plan. Have a plan. Have a plan. Right.
Have a plan. And like I said, it can feel insurmountable. I mean, there's so many buzzwords, and that's one thing in IT that kind of drives me nuts is the buzzword culture. Everybody wants to use the latest, greatest terms of cyber hacking and crypto locker, and there's all these different phrases and terms. But if you can take it a piece at a time, right? And credit card is a great example. Talk to your credit card company. Say, hey, I'm a little worried about my security. What do you guys have in place to protect me? Right? Talk to your internet provider. A lot of people are on just the basic modem that comes with your Comcast or your i3 connection. Are they looking out for your best interest?
Probably not. Yeah.
So, a lot of times it's a trip to Best Buy or Amazon to order, get you a little bit nicer wireless router that has a firewall built in. Again, there are so many different aspects to it. Those baby steps are huge. Just take one step at a time. Banking is huge right now. I think I just went through in the last month or so. I bank at a local financial institution. They completely redid their website, their login process. You now have to, when you log into their website, put in your username, put in a password. They have a pre-shared picture that comes up that you have to type a name that's preset in. And then once you've authenticated all of that, they text you.
Then you get a text.
And then, and a lot of times people are like, it took me 10 minutes to get logged in just to check my bank account. But again, these are the layers that have protected you.
Go a little deeper there. So we talked about 2-factor authentication. The big thing we haven't talked about is passwords. But where I wanted to start with usernames. Is that as big a deal as passwords, or can your username just be the same for everything? You because I've never thought about that. I was just like, well, we just need good passwords.
Here's the hard part. 9 times out of 10, a username's tied to an email account. So you can't
really make it unique.
Spoof an email account, right? I mean, you can. There are a lot of companies out there that you can set your username, but username is a whole lot more common. You can buy, hackers can buy lists of usernames. The hard part is the password. And then the 2-factor authentication. Do you guys remember probably 10, 15 years ago, the credit card swipe machines at gas stations? They were spoofing those. The hard part isn't getting the credit card. You can spoof a credit card.
Right.
The hard part's getting the PIN number. So if you think about even like a debit card, we've been doing 2-factor authentication for how long has a debit card been around?
Sure,
25 years.
Long time.
So again, it's just a different layer. Now the chip has been introduced into your card. Again, a different layer of security, right? They figured out that they can spoof a swipe, but they can't spoof a credit card chip. So 100%. It's gone back to, again, the bad guys are going to be one step.
The guy next to you.
The guy next
to you.
No, the bad guys are always going to be that next step ahead, right?
Right.
We're always going to try and play catch up. It's tough because no matter what pieces you put in place, there's always going to be that next emerging threat.
So usernames generally are going to be a lot alike. And then
can be very similar.
In an ideal world, passwords are unique, but
100%.
9 times out of 10, they probably aren't.
Most people share passwords.
Yeah.
And that's it. Again,
share passwords across multiple accounts they have, you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another cool tool that's a free tool, if you use Google Chrome for a browser, right? Chrome has the ability to save passwords. Within Chrome's little password repository, they actually have a checker now that'll go through and say, hey, you've used this password on 13 different websites. So think about it. If someone happened to get access to your email,
hammer down, baby,
and your password, boy, we're going on a shopping spree today.
Yeah.
Okay, then where should a person keep their passwords? Because I've got a password for email, I've got a password for credit card, I've got a password for this website and this. Where do I keep all of this?
So there is a statistic, I haven't shared this with you guys before. The average user has between 80 and 90 passwords that are frequently used, and that's within a 30-day time period.
Okay. Wow.
80 to 90 passwords. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday a lot of times, let alone that.
Mike, do you remember this story? Let's go back in time 10 years.
Hold on, wait. Before you go there.
Yeah.
You didn't answer your question.
No.
Okay. Yes. Where do you keep these things? Yeah.
So a great one is LastPass. So there are third-party tools out there.
This is a place you can just store your password, you're saying?
It's a password repository.
Okay.
Some people use an Excel spreadsheet that they password protect. The risk there is if your main password is compromised, you got the keys to the kingdom. Yeah. Password or LastPass is a really unique software. There's a couple of other ones out there similar to it. I've used LastPass. It's familiar to us.
Yeah. What is it? Keeper and
there's Keepr, Keepr, I think.
Okay.
And then there's another one.
There's another big one I can't think of right now.
I can't either.
Yeah.
I know there are other ones. But the best thing about those is they authenticate 2 or 3 factor. So in order for you to get access to your spreadsheet repository of passwords, they want your username and your password, and they will likely text message you or authenticate you in multiple ways.
Okay.
Those are great tools. A lot of them to even try are free.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be great for your customers if they're concerned. Go out there and take a look for some of those. Definitely stay with one that's a mainstream, a reputable company. Yeah. But yeah, there are tools out there, 100%.
And then most of those are going to create unique, or you can at least have it set up. You have the option to create unique passwords for every account.
Or they're going to at least warn you. They're going to say, hey, you're using,
you got 20 of the same passwords.
Correct. Or you're using, my dog's Buffy 12.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not, anybody could figure that out. They're going to tell you, hey, you got to meet these requirements.
10 years ago, Mike came in to do an analysis on our whole IT stuff.
Is this something you want to admit on a podcast or not?
I've gotten better.
Okay.
That's when I want to know there's progress being made. And he says to me, I have a suggestion. And I said, what's that? He said, you see where you keep your passwords? I said, yes, they're in the file labeled passwords. He said, that's not exactly encrypted. So a person
don't give them a clue.
Type in
at least camouflage it a little bit.
That
so
was
Mike had a suggestion: change it to something besides password.
That was probably one of the first times I met you too.
Yeah.
I was a little scared to say that, but I'm like, man, this is not. We can't do that.
We don't do that anymore.
No, we can't do that.
Label your password
as
file
password.
I mean, you could at least call it Christmas card list or something.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody cares about your Christmas card.
I thought I had a corner. I cornered that thing right there. I had it all figured out. They'll never check in the password file.
Nope.
Oh, that's funny. All right. So keep your machine up to date. Make sure you're being cautious on email. Ad blockers on websites.
Yeah.
Some firewall stuff.
Yeah. Look into
plan.
Have a plan. Yeah. This is all part of the plan.
Part of the plan.
What was I going to say? Some sort of password. What's the right word? Organizer, password, something. Repository. That's that big fancy word you were using.
There you
go. Any other big ones that we haven't discussed?
Like I said, the key in even when I do consulting for customers on our side, businesses tend to have resources available to put money towards something, right?
Yeah.
They work with us to build a plan. They say, hey, Mike, we want, a next generation firewall. We want encryption for email. We want, pre-shared, access in SharePoint. We want to have, limits in folders and user structures. They go through A to Z and they say, hey, we've checked all the boxes, right?
Yeah.
We meet all the minimums. Our passwords are encrypted. They're 24 digits long. We do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, okay, and they, we're good.
Yeah.
We're protected.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, what happens when your front desk user, she opens an email from somebody that looks like somebody she recognizes and launches something on your network? Your endpoint user is always your biggest risk.
Yeah.
We're human. Again, we want to, by nature, trust each other.
Yeah, right.
This came through, and it's from Bob Jones. Oh, I know Bob. He's a good guy, and he wouldn't send me something that's suspicious. And all it says in there is bank account information. You guys work with, as a financial advisor, you work with customers, and I'm sure you advise them, hey, don't send me your bank account information.
Right.
Yes.
But it happens. And so you go to open it. Well, that wasn't Bob Jones. That was somebody pretending to be Bob Jones, and you launched something on your computer.
You got a pretty good story about that recently.
Yeah, very recently.
Yeah, I think you can tell that without using names. And
there was no damage done, and there was no breach of any information. So I think it's fair to share this, but a client supposedly emailed us with, hey, from this point forward, please email everything to this particular email address. And then they had a set of instructions that they wanted us to follow on how their financial transactions were going forward. Please follow these rules, and by the way, send all future correspondence to our brand new email address. Well, in our business, we are very heavy on relationships.
Absolutely.
And I knew that this person, that was completely outside of their scope of how they normally would act. I know this person very well.
Sure.
So the very first thing we did was pick up the phone and said, hey, this just came through. That's very much not like you.
Doesn't sound like you guys. Yeah.
And boy, the voice on the other end of that phone, that was not me. I didn't think so. We were able to put a stop to that, but it's out there. It's certainly out there. And so they changed all passwords, changed email, did all the things they were supposed to do.
And you hit it right on the head. It's the human side of it that you have to enact on. It didn't sound right. It didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Your customer, right?
Yes.
Most of us in business, even in my world, I talk to, we have 100 of different clients in the Central Illinois area. But a lot of times I talk to the same individuals, right?
Right. Yeah.
If Kendall sent me an email and say, hey, Mike, I've got this information I need you to send me, or a prime example, I had a customer actually email me the other day, say, hey, can you tell where this email came from? I said, I really can't, but I can kind of look through it and see, through logs. Well, it was somebody impersonating. And I mean, by impersonating, they had done a fantastic job creating a fake email account for this organization's president. Well, you've probably heard of the scam where they want you to go and buy a bunch of Amazon gift cards, scratch them off, and put in. Well, this lady was an older lady. She got an email and she's like, hey, the boss wanted me to go to Kroger and buy 15 $500 Amazon gift cards to give out for Christmas this year, to our employees. Well, he asked me to do it. I don't want to get in trouble. She literally, Phil, went as far as going to buy the gift cards. She had them in her hand.
Yeah.
And then she thought, this doesn't
feel right. Yeah.
This doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And of course, by random chance, the owner was on vacation at the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it all lined up, right? It almost made sense. And then she stopped.
Wow.
And she emailed us. I called her. I said, you didn't do it. Yep. She goes, I have him in my hand. Haven't scratched him off. Haven't done anything with him. I said, no, that's a scam. Stop.
Don't do it.
Nope. If it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's we can park right there for just a few minutes, because I think over the last period of time, I don't know when this took place, but there has been a slow degradation of the human element in our world. And there are things you just got to say, that doesn't feel right. I don't know if I believe that. You need to listen to that, right?
Absolutely.
There's a gut element there.
No. We've become so reliant on, everybody has this in their pocket, right? And it's connected all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need to talk to Kendall. I can text him. I don't need to text him. I could Snapchat. There's so many different ways that we can be connected digitally to people, But that human element, like if I can pick up the phone and talk to you on the phone, I can inflect your personality. I can hear your voice.
Absolutely.
I can hear your intention. I can hear your thoughts through that conversation. And people have taken that side of it away.
Well, that's one of the reasons, Mike, that we use video a lot in our business.
Absolutely.
Even if it's electronic communication with you, I'll send a video to you because I want you to see my face. I want you to hear my voice. I want you to see my dramatic response to something and see there's a man sitting here.
Yes, I'm a real person.
Yes, it's not white text or a black text on a white background.
Absolutely.
All right. Everybody wants to know, how much does AI change this stuff that we talked about?
AI
does it change it? Does it really change anything at the core?
Okay, so I will go back to my previous statement of the cool IT buzzwords of the new day. AI absolutely is changing our world.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. Is it changing as rapidly as people predict it? I don't think so.
Is it as sinister as what we're thinking it is?
Can be.
Okay.
Yes, it can be. Anytime you throw an algorithm at something, YouTube is a huge one right now. YouTube's algorithms are changing so much to, 5 years ago, your best result in YouTube was going to be, upload 2 or 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minute segments. Well, now if you've noticed where the money makers are these short segments.
Yeah.
And it's a human problem too, as we have become
Very
more
short term,
I don't have time to watch. I can't watch that. I don't have time for that.
So instead of watching a 10-minute video, we watch
watch
5 minute
530-second clips, right? I mean, and that's the hard part about it is, all the algorithms are telling us what to do and where the money is.
And that's AI? The algorithms are AI?
That's absolutely.
Do you think it changes the security, like the things that we've talked about as far as having a plan and all the different things we talked security-wise? Does AI, as everybody thinks of it, does that change or will it change the way we're doing security anytime soon?
It will change.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the world we're headed towards, accessing the normal things that you access is going to become more difficult.
Yeah.
Because you have to put those layers
on there.
place.
Yeah.
What I think, and kudos to you guys, and this is something that you guys do very well. What's going to make those of us unique is going to be the human element.
Yeah.
I think, you can put in as many technological roadblocks or stumbling blocks in place, where those of us, I think, that are going to have the best benefit for our customers are going to be the ones that still have that personal touch.
I agree with that. 100%. Yeah.
That's going to be the differentiating factor.
Agreed.
As we wrap up, any specific things that folks need to be aware of right now? Any phishing schemes going on, top of mind, anything like that comes? If not, that's fine. I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming up on holidays.
Yep.
So I mean, there's going to be a lot of I've seen a big uptick of phishing emails. The big one right now is like, hey, invoices or shipping. Like we're trying to deliver this package.
I get some of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like here's your invoice, and I know.
Right.
I don't pay the invoices around here. Nobody sends me an invoice.
Right.
Like,
right.
So
I got one later last week. Hey, we tried to deliver your package, and I actually had ordered something expecting it, but of course they want you to click on that link, which is going to take you to a website to log into that's not legit. So I think that's going to be one of the bigger ones is right now they're going to really try and prey on the Christmas season, and the generosity of people especially. But no, the
they
hard
change
part,
all the time.
It's changing every
So
day.
if somebody clicks on that, what should they do?
Stop.
Just stop.
Close it.
Yep.
And usually, even if you click on the link, if you haven't put in information,
you're good.
You're fine. Oh, good to know.
Okay.
That's really good to know.
Good.
A lot of people click on that and then they think, I just went over Niagara Falls.
Well, and the best part, we get calls all the time, a computer screen's flashing and say, hey, call Microsoft support 800 number. Just close it.
Okay.
At 9 times out of 10, they're going to take you to something that preys upon your human side to say, I got to call tech support. I actually had a customer, he's traveling in Florida and had a pop-up and he clicked it, allowed access to his computer. And he said, Mike, what did I just give him access to?
I don't know.
Everything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. Wow.
Whatever you have on it, they had access to.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like I said, just be careful. I mean, again, I go back to have a plan. use your human element. If it doesn't smell right, taste right, seem right,
Boy, I love
sound
that.
right.
I didn't expect that out of today's podcast. There's still a human element in this world. We need to adhere to it. That's good. Yeah, really good. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Well, thanks for coming on with us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
guys,
thank you.
It was great.
Yeah, appreciate
thank you
that.
for having me.
The last thing we always do on our show is we talk about what happened this week in history. Sometimes I quiz Phil, but I don't know. Today, I don't think
He thinks I lived history. That's why. Yeah.
Well, you did. You were here before computers.
That's a lie. It's on
In
there.
my opinion,
Now we
that's
know.
history.
Yeah.
All right. November. Let's see. So this week in history, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above 1,000 for the first time. Doesn't give me a year though.
That would have had to be the 1970s, maybe 1980, maybe. The reason I know that, for the first time ever, there was a headline in the Wall Street Journal that said "Zippity-doo Dow," and Ronald Reagan's the one who said it because the Dow closed over 2,000 in 1980, so it had to be 1970s.
Nice.
All right. American invented a patent was issued for the first disposable razor blades.
You asking me what year?
You probably would know. You're full of useless knowledge.
Apparently I know what razor blades are about.
Also, seems like you use them quite frequently. In 1800, the U.S. Congress held its first session in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
There you go.
Thanks for that
That's
information.
this week in history.
Good
Thanks for coming on with us today.
Yeah, thanks,
It's been
Mike.
a pleasure, guys.
Yep.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. All right. Well, we'll be back next time with your Retirement Blueprint podcast.
Thanks for watching.